going live.
What's happening?
What's going on,
we
guys?
are. We're going live.
Another
Friday,
wonderful
happy Friday.
week. Yeah. Awesome. So we got a special guest today, so we're excited to introduce him. But before we do that, why don't we just do a little bit of introductions here? Alex, do you want to just go ahead and say hello to everybody?
Okay, I'll go first. Hi everybody. Alex Mustatea. I'm a active real estate investor based out of Hamilton, Ontario. My focus being on flips and multifamily conversion projects, most of which have been in Hamilton. I also have projects in Toronto. Now we're making more of a move in strategic partnerships in southwestern Ontario, Chatham area. Always looking for people to invest with. I'm also in the process of raising capital. So if anybody wants to put their money to work, I'd be more than happy to be in touch. You can reach me at 289-769-8975 or on Instagram at alexandru.mustatea.
Awesome. Callie, why don't you give
My man.
shout out?
Sure. Hey, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in on this lovely Friday afternoon. Depends on where you are in the country, I guess. I'm Callie Braithwaite, and I'm actively focusing on flips and assignments in Ontario, flips in New Brunswick. I'm even doing some assignments in Hamilton, by the way. But anyhow, I'm actively looking to raise capital and work with money partners for some of these deals that I'm working on. I'm able to provide a great return. So if anybody is interested in working on some of these deals that I have or talking to me about the deals that I have going on, please feel free to reach out. Even if it's just, want to pick my brain on some real estate related questions. I love talking real estate and adding value. So 289-207-5316. You can catch me on Instagram at GrowWithCallie. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. And I am Shawn Gunther here out of the Moncton, New Brunswick area. And if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest here in the New Brunswick region, I would love to talk to you. We're also always trying to increase our team here. So if you're interested in learning how to invest here in New Brunswick and are just getting started, we'd love to talk to you as well. And we can be reached at 506-800-4289 or on Instagram at the Moncton Home Buyer. Yeah, so pretty exciting week for everyone, I'm hoping.
Indeed,
yeah, man.
In many ways.
The time keeps flying by, man. The weeks keep getting shorter and shorter. But you know what? I love it, and I'm loving it. It means that what I'm doing, I'm enjoying, and I hope the same is going with you guys. Are you guys noticing the same thing in your lives?
100%. I feel like we just did this show yesterday.
Yes, indeed.
Literally.
Callie has entered the Hammer unannounced, but I found them.
Oh, really? I see.
That's right.
I see your guys' Facebook post there that you had up where it was you two in together there. And then I also remember a quite snide remark that you made about anybody coming to Hamilton. So.
I'm only joking. By no means claim to own the city by any means.
Yeah, sure. You got some.
So Shawn, just in case you don't know, Shawn, he wasn't joking. I was in Hamilton and I was on my way back to Toronto. And who do I see in the alleyway pulling up to a property that I'm working on? Mr. Mustatea. I said, what's going on? How did this happen? So that was the perfect post to put what actually happened, because that was pretty cool, man. I mean, yeah. He knew that I was working in the area. Yeah.
Yeah. Callie had told me about the property, but this was a few days prior to the time that we met, and I just decided that, I'm going to drive by it and then I'll talk to Callie about it. And sure enough, I stop. I'm walking around and I see this car coming towards me, and sure enough, it's Callie. So it definitely wasn't planned.
Well, we're always talking about different strategies and things of that nature. And we have a guest today who's got a pretty interesting strategy that's a little bit different than anything that we're doing. So we're happy to have him and hear his different point of view on his real estate investing. We actually have Keith Makse here to join us today, and he's a real estate investor from the Waterloo region in Ontario. He owns a small number of properties on his own. Keith is also a founder of Blue Ocean Property Group, which is focusing on short-term rental management and is looking to connect with other investors who are looking to make a higher than market rent or passive income stream. So without further ado, we'll bring on Keith Makse.
Hey, thanks.
Hey.
Awesome. Keith, so why don't you just take a minute to kind of introduce yourself and let everybody know what you're doing?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Shawn. So Keith Makse, obviously. So I've been investing in real estate. I kind of got my wife to allow me to do that back about 10 years ago in 2011. I was actually moving out of the province of Ontario, and I moved out to Newfoundland for about 5 years. And I decided at that point I really needed to, work. I worked in video games for 20 years, and I was chasing a job in, the JOB. And I decided that, well, this is really the closest thing I'm going to have to any kind of a pension or retirement. So I decided, hey, I'm going to keep my house. I'm going to buy another one when I get out there and have somebody else pay off that mortgage. And it was, it worked out. I learned a lot of lessons, especially with managing a property with no power team. And I learned how important a power team was right in the very first year. But then after that, fast forward 10 years, I started really focusing on real estate investing back in 2018. I picked up a few properties. I tried a few different methods. I tried the BRRRR strategy. I just tried to do buy and hold. I also managed, I created one as an Airbnb. And throughout all those different strategies, I realized that the Airbnb strategy really was by far so much more beneficial for myself, where, I was making incredible returns, beating market rent month after month. And I just realized, like, why do I ever want to rent out to tenants? Especially here in Ontario, there's not that I'm saying tenants are bad. It's just that the tenants have a lot of power, and if they say no to something, we're kind of tied. Our hands are tied, and we can't really force them to do things that they don't want to do. Even if it's like, get out of my house, we can't get them to do that.
Yeah.
So
you own the property.
Yeah, even when you own the property, unless if you want to move back into it. And I came into some weird situations, and I just realized, it's a little more work to run a short-term rental, but has so much more payoffs, not just financial. It's just that control that you have over the property itself and how you're conducting your own business. It's been a total different mind shift set, whatever you want to call it, where, it's really hard to think about how, you go from, I'm going to buy a property and I want to just throw people in there and leave it passive income stream, right? I might make a few $100 on a door, and if I get so many doors, hey, I can have this passive income stream. But as we already know, like, being a landlord is not passive. There's a lot of work behind it. And so I'm just taking it one step further. I'll do a little bit more work up front, where I get to actually control the property, control the guests who are coming in there, making sure that I provide an excellent quality service at an excellent quality property. And then I'm making sure that I can get in there on a regular basis. I can make sure it's cleaned and staged at all times. It's not being destroyed by tenants. And I can keep doing constant improvements around it in order to drive more business, more value, and more money through the doors.
100%. And I mean, you and I have had this conversation as well, kind of, and it's very obvious when we do speak that you're very, very committed to creating like the best possible service for people as well, right? Like, so, I mean, that's great. I love to hear this new strategy, and you seem so kind of pumped about it and passionate about it. What in your mind is kind of the best? Is there a best strategy that people can look at if they're going to switch over and try to go into the Airbnb space?
No, that's a really good question. And I think there's two different types of strategies, I would say. Really, like, you have your rental arbitrage as one strategy. That's where you go and you rent a place and then you put it up on Airbnb. And then the other one is just, you can do it on your own, where you can actually have your own property. You do arbitrage. And I guess the third way would be to use management, where you actually use a management company. So if you own a property, but you don't want to go through all the, sorry if you can hear my dog, he's going crazy at the moment. But if you don't want to go through all that effort, because it's a totally different business, it's hospitality. And a lot of landlords are not from the hospitality industry. They're not from the field. They may not be very adept at their customer service skills. And it really is about customer service, applying the best customer service, because you will get odd questions or you get odd situations that will come up similar to being a landlord. But at the end of the day, I still need that 5-star review. I need to make sure that somebody is walking away, even if they're not happy, I need to make sure that they're satisfied. And that satisfaction will be the part that I'm really trying to strive for as the absolute bare minimum. And then how can I make them feel that sense of awe and wonder at something brand new? That, how can I surprise and delight them? That's what I'm always looking for.
It's interesting what I think both you and Shawn have touched on, that landlording is definitely not a passive means of income. While many people do treat it as such, and it's those same type of landlords, they may think that, okay, well, I'm just going to spend $5,000-$10,000 to furnish it, and I'll do that much better in Airbnb. And what I'm gathering from what you're talking is that you're becoming that much more active in renting those units, but you're providing a service to go with it. You're not just providing housing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you think of it, as a landlord, how often are you dealing with your tenants? You collect the rent from them once a month. They might be connecting with you if the toilet's plugged up or you have some other issue. Maybe, the eaves troughs are leaking and they're concerned about it. Something's going on. They're concerned about sort of their stuff and maybe your stuff. But, you have very little engagement or interaction, unless if you're really good friends with them. The side on an Airbnb is that it is a 24/7 business. You're going to get people who are going to say, hey, I have ants in the house. I don't know, I'm just making that up. I haven't had that yet. But, they could be running out of coffee, and they, and that's one of the things that I supply. I want to make sure that they can actually have a fresh cup of coffee. Maybe the coffee machine is broken. Well, these are little things that you wouldn't normally care about as a landlord, but this is what I care about in order to make sure I get a really good quality service. If something like, I need to make sure that the place is absolutely sparkling clean every single time. I clean to COVID standards according to what Airbnb actually requires. So it's above and beyond, right? Like, I'm actually getting to the point where it's, everything's cleaned and then it gets sanitized. So it's like super clean for people. And that's not something that you would normally do for a tenant. You hire a cleaner, get them to clean everything through, and then they come in, they make their mess, and then they go away and you hire a cleaner again. I clean constantly. So for instance, at my location, I've had people who've stayed for multiple months at a time. And then I actually will send a cleaner in. I actually kind of look at as part of that as the cost that I'll do as part of running the business. I can do it as an add-on and make them pay for it, but I'd rather actually have that cleaner in there and give them that value. But the real value is the fact that I can see, I have the cleaner's eyes going through there and telling me if there's any problems, any major destruction that's going on. Whereas if you were a landlord and you go to your tenant and the tenant says, yeah, I don't feel like you can come into the house today, they can block you. These guys can. I can walk in, I can check out for the condition of the property, and then I get a lot more feedback on how everything is performing. However, like I said, it's very much a 24/7 business where I'm responding to messages throughout the day. We do have some automation tools in order to make the communication a little bit easier, but at the same time, like, no automation tools can be able to answer everything. So we actually do require a lot of hands-on touch with the communication there, and then over time, like it will bring about there is a lot of positive benefit that comes into it, but it is a lot more work. So you're busy, Alex, for instance, flipping houses. You're working on the house, whereas I'm working on the client, the customer service, the relationship building, and I have to do that with every single customer that comes through the door.
Yeah. So, like, you've been doing Airbnbs now for quite a while, like your own personal ones as well. And what would you say was kind of the biggest learning curve getting into it?
Well, really, it's a lot of the background stuff that goes into it, like really making sure that you're designing for the customer experience. What is the customer experience? What do you want them to actually go through when they walk through your door? And at my first property, I had done some renovations prior to turn it into an Airbnb or a short-term rental. And I made sure, okay, I'm going to get this light fixture. It's a little bit more than what I would normally pay for a light fixture in that room. But at the same time, it was totally worth it because it was the room you walk into the house. And you want to make sure you have that visual statement as soon as people walk in, that they're not just walking into a home, they're walking into an experience. And so that was part of what I've learned. And as well, it's really about the customer service. I've done a lot of customer service jobs in the past. So it's really about what can I provide that, as I said before, is surprise and delight. How can I set the bar for them that the bar is actually higher? They might come in with a certain expectation, but I want to provide them higher than that level of experience that they may think that they actually will get.
So, if I may, Keith, walk me through a scenario. I will renovate a place. Let's say that it's a townhouse. It's recently renovated top to bottom as a flip, but I decided I want to hold on to it and Airbnb it. What can you guys, like, where do you guys come in? How can you guys help in that type of scenario?
Yeah, so we can start as early as while you're in the flipping process. We can give you some ideas of how to get the right pieces that will actually make those statements right up front. So it may be more, if you do want to turn it into a short-term rental, then you want to make sure that you're getting the right pieces. Because when you're doing a flip, there's very strategic flips where you're trying to save as much of your capital as you can and get the best renovations for as little as possible, like in order to make the profit. But if you're trying to turn it into something more of a short-term rental, you want to spend a little bit more in certain areas, especially where it's going to come down to all the key touch points. So for me, in an area for any short-term rental, it's your bathroom, your bedrooms, and your kitchen. Those are going to be the 3 points that people are going to spend the most amount of time in. You might get people who only stay for one night. They turn around, hop on a plane, and they're out the next day. If they're in a more tourist area, maybe they might stay for a few weeks, whatever it is. And if they're going to be there longer term, such as I've set up my property, so the more bedrooms you have, the more likely you're going to have longer guests. And with that, I made sure, okay, I'm going to have a really nice kitchen in there. I'm going to make sure that my kitchen is actually a little bit more set up. So there's a lot of those little things that come in, but it's also what are the amenities? What are the features of the property that somebody's going to get the value out of that property? So for instance, like on the televisions that I have, I make sure that they have access to Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus. I go a little overboard, but at the same time, I've had families come through and they want to have, stuff for their kids, so they can watch like I think it's Prime Video has like a kids section or whatever on the TV. I have like some coloring books. I have some toys there for kids of different ages. So it's really I'm trying to capture as much of the experience depending in that particular property, more for families than I am for, say, younger single people or young couples. Instead, I'm actually catering more to a family environment. And so I look at each one of the properties that we take on in our management company, and we look at the property and go, okay, who would be the most likely avatar to actually come into this space? And that's what we're trying to cater to.
That's really cool. Like, I didn't realize that you guys are actually going to like over and above to the point where you're creating like a demographic, or a guesstimation of what your demographic's going to be for that particular Airbnb, and then kind of catering. That's really neat.
Actually, I just want to say one of the things that we found out is that if we cater to people based on price, we actually will have more likely a negative review because people are going to nitpick everything. But if we cater to a demographic that's going to be a little bit more used to traveling and different amenities that they have, they're going to really appreciate what they have when they get there. And that's part of our niche that we do. Yeah.
You and I, Keith, had a chance to talk a little bit about the whole process that you guys are introducing, and I really thought it was cool when you talked about some of the technology that you guys use. Can you talk about that a little bit? The technology, whether it be security or just alerts, alarms, things that you use remotely to help make sure that the property is being used as it was intended to be used?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest concern that Airbnb has with their short-term rentals and any other short-term rental platform is the existence of parties. So Airbnb already came out and they gave a flat no party policy. No Airbnb is allowed to have any parties there. So we actually use keyless entry systems where we actually have control over the locks. So, for instance, let's go back again to tenants. You have a tenant who's creating a problem. You try to go change those locks. You're actually going to be held in a lot of trouble, right? The LTD is going to, Alex knows this very well enough, but it's going to be a lot of problem. However, if I have somebody who's a guest who is going to be escorted out by police because they had a party, they got caught, they're breaking the terms of service. I can change the locks immediately. I can just go in, change that key code so they don't have access to it anymore. We also use cameras to allow us to view the guests. Now, the cameras can only exist outside. They can't be inside the property because of privacy laws. And honestly, I want to give people their privacy. I don't need to see what's going on behind closed doors. But on the outside, I can actually make sure that the number of registered guests that they actually said they were traveling with are the number of people who are actually showing up. That way you're not getting any last minute parties, you're not getting anything else. And then another security device that we use, there's a couple of different ones out there that are basically noise detection devices. They do a little bit more than that. There's this cool one that I'm using right now called Minute. And it allows you to not only see what the decibel level is inside the property, it actually tells you the humidity, it tells you how many devices are in the area, how many Wi-Fi enabled devices are in the area. So if I see, like, I have 3 people in a house and I have 30 devices active in the area, well, I think there's a problem there, and the decibel levels are really high. There's probably a party. I gotta shut that down. And then that's cool. We have all other kinds of technology that we throw in. We have automation for our messaging, automation for our cleaners, who are really the backbone of our company. We use technology to help us out with the pricing, to make sure we're getting the most dynamic pricing in the highest rates possible. It's like a fairly low fee, like $20 a month, and yet we use our product called Price Labs. However, that $20 pays me back hundreds of dollars throughout a month. So it's totally worth it to do that. Otherwise, you get people, you can always tell when somebody's not doing it. They have like one price, say it's $100, and it's every single night. They have no idea how to price it, and they'll get a spike on the weekend. They're not capitalizing on those spikes. So that's one of the things that we can do.
So that's something you guys would provide as well, such as a consult at the front end to be able to help the homeowner decide, how lucrative is Airbnb for that particular property.
Yeah, so one of the first things that we do, again, another piece of technology that we use is we have 3 different analysis tools that we go through. Some people might be familiar with AirDNA, which is one of them. We're using another one, which is a little bit not proprietary, but it's from a friend of ours who is kind of keeping it on the down low. So we're not talking about that too much at the moment. And then you can also just go through Airbnb and like pretend to list your own place. How much would it make? The problem is I find with AirDNA and the Airbnb information that you get, it's all aggregated information. So I strive to be in the tops, the 75th or 90th percentile. That means I'm in the top 10%, let's say at the 90th percentile. Everybody else is below me. I have one of those top 10% performing assets that I am now far exceeding what the average is in terms of the average daily rate, like what your nightly rate is and what your occupancy rate is. So I looked at my place. So my original house, I looked at it on Airbnb and it said, I think it was like 58% occupancy, an average daily rate of $120, and I can make like $22,000 in a year. Well, I can tell you right now from the past year, that is an absolute lie. My average daily rate is close to $200 a night. My occupancy rate is around 95% right now. I think it's like just shy of 95, 96%, around there. And this year last year my numbers are a little bit off because I did have somebody I launched 1 week prior to the lockdown that we had in Ontario, scared the bejeebers out of me. And so one of my second guest that I had come in wanted to stay for a month, and I asked them, well, why do you need to stay for a month? Oh, well, we just moved from the Philippines. We were living out there. We're waiting for a house to be built here in Waterloo, but it won't be ready till the fall. Okay, do you want to stay until September? And so I cut them a really good deal, and so I kind of cut myself off at the legs in a way because I had no idea where the lockdown was going to go and how long it was going to go for. So last year my numbers are a little bit skewed, but this year I'm already on track to earn over $50,000 at one property, well above what market.
That's amazing.
Wow, that is crazy. And I mean, it seems like there's a lot involved, and maybe the average landlord doesn't really want to deal with it. And I guess that's kind of where you guys come in, which is just amazing. And I mean, I know that you guys take a very small percentage of that as well, too. So why don't you tell people where they can get in touch with you and how they could how this process would start if they're interested in doing that? Because I mean, obviously you have a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience kind of dealing with this and getting yourself up to that super host level where you are making the most. So
yeah, I just got my super host for the 4th season in a row. So
congrats, man.
Awesome. Yeah, so people can get in touch with me at our website, blueocean-properties.ca. We're actually changing that over soon to, as you see in my email, keith@blueoceanproperties.com. Or they can connect with me on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook. So basically our management, what we do is we do everything from the setup. We'll supply some advice for how the owner can actually furnish their units. But then we take it over from there. We arrange the cleaners, we arrange all the setup, and we do all of that for basically only 20% of the revenue. It's a very simple model. And since we're getting somewhere between 2 to 3 times market rent, the landlord is still making more after paying us to do all the work than they would if they were just going and getting a regular long-term tenant and paying a property management company for that. So we provide an alternative service where people can actually profit a lot more off of their properties.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, we've come up onto the half-hour mark here for the show, so why don't we just do a little bit of a closeout? Keith, do you have any last words there before you go?
No, I just wanted to say thanks, guys. I really appreciated the opportunity to talk to you, and I think, Shawn, you're going to have to shave your head just so you can fit in like the cool kids.
Actually, you know what? I had my head shaved for like 10 years, and then I met my wife, and now she threatens to leave me if I even mention it.
That's funny.
Anyways, aside from that, I am Shawn Gunther here, and I'm actually out of the New Brunswick area. So anybody looking to buy, sell, invest here, definitely get in touch with me, 800-4289, or on Instagram at the Moncton Wholesaler, or just on Facebook, Shawn Gunther.
I am Cali Braithwaite, and I'm out of the GTA, actively focusing on flips and assignments this year. And as I mentioned earlier, if you want to reach out and talk to me about some of the deals that I'm working on, please feel free. 289-207-5316. You can find me on Facebook, Cali Braithwaite, or Instagram at Grow with Cali. Thanks again for listening to us this week. And thank you, Keith, for participating.
Thanks.
Awesome. Alex Mustatea, based out of Hamilton, active investor doing flips and multifamily conversion projects through the GTA, Toronto, Hamilton, and I guess moving into southwestern Ontario, Chatham region. Always looking to connect. You can always reach me on my phone, 289-769-8975, or on Instagram, alexandru.mustatea.
Awesome. And I just want to end the show too by thanking Keith so much for joining us today. And he's provided just a massive amount of value, I think, regarding the Airbnb space. So thanks again, man. And to everybody out there watching, thanks for viewing, and definitely leave your comments and questions. And if you have any ideas about shows for the future or guests that we should have on, definitely shoot us a message. And hope to see you all again next week, and take care.